Okay, first and foremost, thank you for being here this evening. I'm going to try to start right on time. We know that by you being here signifies the importance that you have for public education, along with the safety and security within the school district. For me, it's about going around to each of our communities in order to gain access to each of you to discuss the proactive steps that we're taking as a school district and talk about some of the things we've done in order to secure our campuses in Clay County, along with talk about items that are in process and then items that we have vision for as we continue to seek to harden our structures, at the same time build a safe and respectful environment. And for me, this is also a great opportunity for us to engage in the community and just get your voice, whether it's from students, from caregivers, from parents, from business organizations, and from teachers and leaders, that you may have a voice in our decision making as we seek to secure every one of our campuses for the 18-19 school year, outlined by the new legislation from Tallahassee related to Senate Bill 726, which I'll speak to a little bit later. But I will tell you that from my side, I had an opportunity to go to a forum put on by Channel 4, and it was contacted and named Generation Under Fire. In that scenario, they invited all superintendents from the Northeast Florida area, along with sheriffs, along with students, along with caregivers, parents, mental health specialists, and they brought us together to really talk about what happened in Parkland. And in this, before they initiated the conversation, which ended up being a 2-hour conversation between every stakeholder within the community, Kim Justice, who's the moderator, he asked, raise your hand to the 20 students that were there if you feel safe. And in that scenario, no students raised their hand in relation to whether or not they identify that they feel safe within their school district. Now, I will tell you that Clay County did not have individuals in that forum. However, I can tell you that other 20 students and the 5 superintendents were there. I put myself in their shoes, because if every one of the students, 100% of the students, didn't feel safe within their organization, you can rest assured that those students in Clay County didn't feel safe within our organization. Hence the reason for me and my team going on the road to talk about the steps that we would take in order to have conversations about the safety of our school, to talk about some of the barriers, to talk about the financial impact, and to talk about the vision for our work. And what I found out that, after 2 hours of conversation, that our parents, our caregivers, our business partners, mental health specialists, and our students, they really didn't know the steps that we were taking as an organization. And as the leader of the organization, I felt for the other superintendents, but I also knew that I owned that part of me not being able to articulate through leaders, through my board, the school board, and through our teachers as well, of not doing a good job explaining the steps that we're taking in order to turnkey that with our constituents and with our students. And after the 2-hour session, Kim Justice asked the same question to the 20 students that were in the forum and participated, and 90% of the students raised their hand in reference to the same question. Did you feel safe? Do you feel safe within your schools? And after the 90% raised their hand, it really ultimately came to, they just didn't know. They didn't have access to the information. They didn't know all the steps that we were taking from an operational standpoint, that we were taking from a structural standpoint, that we were taking from an emergency and crisis management standpoint. And that for me said that I could do better as a superintendent articulating what we are doing and start to grow legs with our messaging in order to gain access to every one of our caregivers and our stakeholders. And we know that since Parkland, which was on February the 14th, we know that that body, that unfortunate situation has changed the way that we have done business and education, not only locally, but throughout the state and also throughout the nation. And I would say this openly and confidently, no student, no teacher, no employee should ever be subjected to that type of incident. And we always talk about our schools in reference to being a safe place. No one should ever penetrate the sanctity of our schools. It's a place where teachers are to come to educate and inspire children every single day, and where children can continue to grow through their pathways in relation to becoming full option graduates within this organization. So ultimately tonight, I want to talk about 4 major areas to talk about the state of safety within this organization. to talk about what action steps were taken from Clay County District Schools, and then talk about how the new legislation from 7026 impacts our body of work and what the vision is related to that new Senate bill. And then finally have a Q&A opportunity for me to interact with our panel that we have here tonight, and for you to interact with each of us to talk about solutions, to talk about concerns, to talk about issues that we can work collectively in order to problem solve, and then work to make better decisions on the behalf of our students, but also to protect the working conditions of our employees every single day. So, as we look to this, coming in 17 months ago, first and foremost, I'm excited and still humbled to be the leader of this organization. I'm thankful every day to be able to improve teaching learning within Clay County District Schools. But we came in with a mindset of coming to developing a theory of change that would allow us to move our body of work. And in that theory of change is a four-pronged progression that allowed us to move intently in order for a greater outcome, which is to be able to prepare our students to be full option graduates, to be ready to either go in the workforce, to go to college, or to go into the military. And that's our ultimate, our final destination with our students as they go on to compete within society. But we know that the first stage of this is to make certain that we create and build positive learning and focused environments every single day in every one of our classrooms. And this will be the ultimate vision that we have, and we will continue to work to ensure that we foster a safe and respectful environment in every single one of our classrooms, regardless of the great man within this organization. And we know if we set that foundation of having a safe environment and having the greatest environment for our students from a learning and social perspective and intellectual perspective, we know that we can go to the second tier, which is really focused on developing great educators and leaders. And this comes to a part where we have to do a better job with our employment strategies. What are we doing to retain first-round draft picks? What are we doing to make sure we recruit individuals that are aligned to our philosophy and our needs within our individualized schools? And what are we doing in order to strategically retain individuals who are first-round draft picks from this organization to keep our best and brightest teachers in front of our students every single day, and also the individuals in this organization. And that leads us to make certain that as we create this development process, we learn to build the capacity not only of our teachers, but we build the capacity of our leaders as well, along with aspiring leaders, in order to grow a bench that is longer and stronger to impact this body of work of this organization. And that also is directly linked to being able to evaluate everyone within this organization in a transparent, honest manner in order for us to give bite-sized, actionable feedback to lift the work every single day. And we know if we have a great environment, we develop our leaders, then we can really focus on the meat of our work and our vision, which comes to selecting the right curriculum every single day within our classrooms. Making certain that we have the four excellent principles of excellent instruction, which are directly linked to making sure that kids are actively engaged, make sure they have ownership, make sure that they demonstrate understanding, and that they have rigorous content in front of them in every classroom and every minute. And making certain that we give teachers and leaders the tools that they need from a curriculum standpoint, not only for our kids to meet grade level expectations, but for our students to push beyond from an enrichment perspective, but also from an accelerator mindset as well. And then ultimately, if we do all those things, we come back to what I spoke about with our greatest goal, is to create full option graduates within this organization, which is ultimately, but ultimately we're here tonight to talk about safety in the environments of our classroom, which is the first foundational piece of our work. As we talk about our priorities, we will always know that safety will always be one of the greatest priorities within this organization. And we talk about safety not being only isolated to schools. I spoke last night at our county commissioners, and I told them, we can't own this by ourselves. We will do everything that we can in order to create a safe environment. But this is a 360 accountability within this community. The questions are, do you feel safe when you go to the mall? Do you feel safe when you go to the movies? Do you feel safe when you come to our schools? Do you feel safe when you go to church? Do you feel safe when you're driving on the roads? We own every bit of that as a community. And for us as a school district, we can't do this alone. We need caregivers to be actively involved in this. We need faith-based partners, we need community members, student advocates, mental health specialists, leaders, teachers, partners, everyone to stand beside us as we take on this role. And I would tell you, it's really truly unfortunate that we're sitting here talking and figuring out whether or not we're going to put metal detectors at every one of our doors, or we're going to be a part where we are discussing arming educators in our schools. It is unfortunate. For me growing up, it was never a part of the discussion. And do we have to ask yourself a question as a parent, as a teacher? Do you want our students to feel like they're at TSA and line up hours before, the school day and be able to come in a single file line and be scanned before they come into the schools? The answer is no. This should be a warm environment that's welcoming every single day. And we do not want to put measures in place that disrupt the educational learning environment, because there's so many other things that we can do, but we can't do it in isolation. And I will say this, as a community, we must identify the root causations to violence. We must identify the root causations to undesired behaviors that students exhibit, because we've got to figure out how to break those cycles in order to help them be successful. And I gave an example at one of my last Listen and Learns that, from a parent's perspective, I think we can continue to do more and be greater involved in our students' lives. And I talk about it because I own it as well as a parent. I have a 17-year-old that goes to Oakley Junior High School as a junior, and I have a 12-year-old that goes to Oakley Junior High School as well. And I spoke to my wife about it about a month ago. We have to do a better job introducing them to the dinner table. Growing up, I knew that at 6:30 at night, my butt better be at the dinner table with my parents. Every single night at 6:30. And with my 4 other siblings, we sat down at 6:30, and my parents talked to us openly. How was your day? What went on in school? What did you learn? How did your extracurricular activities go? And how can I help you? Nowadays, openly and honestly, we don't get to the dinner table. We wait in that Chick-fil-A line, which is 25 minutes every single day to get that number 2 combo. You know what I'm talking about. I get so frustrated, the line is so long. But we wait for 20 minutes, we go home, and our children take the bag and go to, whether they go to the rooms or sit in front of the television. We need to take that bag and go to the dinner table to have greater conversations every single night. And I'm challenging you, and I'm challenging myself to continue to make that a priority, because that's when we begin to gain access to our children, to figure out how to coach them, how to mentor them, how to problem solve them in order for them to be a better learner and a better impactful agent within this school district. And I would tell you this, and I challenge the last group with Keystone on Monday night, and I challenge myself. My job as a parent is not to be my child's best friend. My child as a parent is to be my child's best parent. And some of us have this kind of mixed up illusion that we're trying to take down, trying to take the avenue of befriending, being that friend to our children. They need to understand rituals, routines, expectations, interactions, and set short-term and long-term goals for their own individualized aspirations. And we should be the ones that help them pave the way to create that opportunity for success for them. And if there are difficulties out there, come to us. We stand ready and available with our staff. They're here tonight, and they're here on this panel as well, ready to gain access to your learner, to your family, and not only develop the child, but seek to develop the entire family as we move forward. And then lastly, we have to make certain that our schools are a psychologically safe place. And do we a part where it's essential that we have a workplace where each school it feels safe and respectful every single day, where students can learn, teachers can teach, and employees can continue to use robust strategies to evolve a proactive, robust learning environment for our kids and for the working conditions of our individuals. So this is a chart for each of you to see that this is a state of schools throughout the nation. Since Parkland on February 14th, we've had over 1,000 threats that's been made throughout the state. And of these threats, it's averaging around 74 to 75 threats per week. In addition to that, you see that there's over 1,300 schools that have been impacted throughout the nation. And of these 1,000 threats, we see the way that we are finding out through these threats is the biggest one is social media. And with 48% of the threats that are made throughout the nation are through Instagram, Twitter account, they're through text messaging, they're through Facebook. I don't know whatever else they got out. There's a lot of stuff. Growing up, I only had a pager, so I didn't have that type of accessibility. But now it's so easy for our students to hide behind their words, to hide behind their voice, because when they send out that message, when they send out that Instagram, they send out that cyberbullying or that threat, they don't have to confront that individual face to face. So it's so easy to send any type of message because they don't get to see the reaction from that individual. It's very different when you're confronted one-on-one and you're sending that threatening message in or undesired message. So this is the way it works. This is why I ask parents to be in the cookie jars of your children. At 9 o'clock at night, my children, they walk in, they understand 9 o'clock at night, we're collecting phones. And my wife is a team player because she's combing through all of their stuff. And they don't have Facebook. They don't, my oldest daughter has a Twitter account only because she has to communicate with her college softball coach. But other than that, nothing else. You have to be in control of what they're doing and what their messages are saying. On top of that, we see that 20% are verbal, and then and 12% have been found in bathrooms from individuals that write, they feel the need to write about some type of threats and walk away from it in a manner. But how does this relate to Clay County? This relates to Clay County. We've had 5 threats since February the 14th that have impacted 4 schools. Of the threats, we've had 4 students and 1 adult. The 4 students have made threats at this organization. I don't say this, or all 5 of these individuals, and I don't say this braggingly, that they all were arrested because they disrupted the learning environment and committed a felony with that work. Why my job as superintendent is break the pipeline from school to prison. There's going to be 0 tolerance for this type of measure. And I trust the young men and women in green that do such a great job every single day for this community to take action where action is needed and to investigate this in a proper manner. And the Clay County Sheriff's Office, who's here tonight, continues to be an awesome partner in our work. He continues to work rigorously in order to protect our schools and our community. But I will say that the 4 schools, the majority of our findings, or 60% were found in written fashion, whether it be in the bathroom, on a desk, whether it be through a notation, and 40% were through the social medias. And I say this openly. These types of threats will not be tolerated in the school district, and we will continue to take immediate action when exposed to our teachers or to our other students. The issue is that we cannot just get to a point where we are mirroring the work that was done in Parkland, and not to be disrespectful in this event. This individual was expelled with no services. So this individual was expelled, and once you expel them, they're out. They're no longer the duty and responsibility of the school district. From my side, we cannot just expel kids. It's not the only answer. Is it a consequence? Absolutely. But we've got to take proactive measures to figure out what we can do from a behavior and mental standpoint to provide assistance to the learner to help them figure out the causation of their actions, the consequences of their actions, the reflections to their actions, and how we can give them treatment in order to better assist them to continue to be successful, not only within the 4 walls we call classroom, but also extended throughout our community. And we have a number of options and opportunities moving forward next year, as Senate Bill 7026 has given us a lot of money to deal with the mental health perspective. So we got $400 million from the governor, as in the legislators, as it relates to the school district, the organizations throughout everywhere. Well, I wish we had these guys. $400 million. Yeah, I'd love to have that. That's my entire budget, $400 million in Clay County. But I will say this, legislators did a good job, solid job, and they put $400 million into education related to safety. And of this, you see these areas on the side, this is directly linked to the services that the $400 million will be associated with throughout all 67 school districts in the state of Florida. They initiated the Guardian Program. The Guardian Program is where that they will have the school district will have the opportunity to identify individuals who will be trained to have concealed carry weapons in a concealed manner in order to protect our students in our school district. I will tell you that the original conversation linked teachers into this initial proposal, and then as they signed it, they removed anyone, including teachers, who had a full schedule of students, and they are no longer allowed to participate in the Guardian Program. Which means currently what we sit now is that we sit when now the legislation allows individuals who will be on campus every single day and do not have a full schedule of students, they'll be able to participate in the Guardian Program. That could be administration, that could be support staff, that could be vendor through armed security, that could be individuals that we hire internally as safe officers. From our standpoint, I will tell you that we have taken a stance as a school district initially that the Guardian Program is not one that's attracted to us. It's not about putting more guns in school, it's about putting the right individuals who have the right training, the right credentials in order to protect both our employees and protect our students as well. In addition, the funding looks to put resource calls to put resource officers in every one of our schools. In every one of the schools in the state of Florida, you now either have to have a resource officer or you have to have someone that's participating in the Guardian program. It depends, and all this is linked to funding. In addition, it creates an Office of Safety, School Safety at the Department of Education, which will then help us create and develop our internal threat plans, internal crisis and emergency management plans, and then we'll make certain that we have the right directions as we continue to insert the intruder drills and lockdown drills within every one of our schools. And then also it gave us funding for mental health and behavioral health, and I'll talk about how in the next slide you'll see how much money. This is a great opportunity for us to leverage our school counselors, to leverage community partnerships in schools, to leverage our school psychologists, to leverage school social workers, and many outside providers to come in and work to identify students in need to help them in immediate fashion within our schools. And then it also looks at, it gives us a significant amount of money, around $100 million, I believe, $97 million for school hardening. That means that we have to apply, and my team stands ready to apply, in order to talk about how we would like to have additional fencing for schools, and how do we support portables. This is a school, I can tell you openly, it's wide open. And this is probably the school that we have got to figure out what we can do to harden structures. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to be extremely difficult to do on this campus. However, I'm inspired about you being here to think through this process, and I'm also inspired to work with the local law enforcement to circulate through every one of our campuses in order to create an assessment list that will help us harden our structures every single day. And ultimately, the $400 million to improve safety within our schools. But I will tell you, and I don't say this in a disrespectful manner, why I'm greatly appreciative of the money that was extended to us through local legislation. You know, we are underfunded in reference to the mandate. We just don't have the funding to make all this come to fruition right now because, in education, we don't get a significant amount of money. And then this year going in, what we received from the state of Florida this year as it relates to our FTE and our Florida Educational Financial Plan, we got 47 cents for every student within our school district. That means that the Department of Education gave me $17,000 extra dollars. I don't really know what to do with $17,000. I guess we can all go to Chick-fil-A and get a lot of #2 combos. But other than that, that's not going to help us harden structures. That's not going to help us put resources in our school. It's $17,000. And it's almost a slap in the face for our educators and for us. But I say that respectfully, but we're open to continue to push the conversations to our community, open to push the conversations with law enforcement, and push the conversation with the school board to problem solve to make this come to fruition with our school district. This is the breakdown of financials that we initially created, in the sense that last year for Safe School money we received $580,000 for resource officers to go into all of our high schools. This year we received another $1.3 million, which adds up to $1.8 million. And our projected need on top of the $1.8 million is an additional $3 million. And I think that number is actually low after speaking to the Sheriff's Office. It's around $4.5 million that we need. $2 million off the rip that you got to buy capital cars, and then you got so much additional expenses that you got to purchase with guns, vests, uniforms, certifications, trainings, equipment. So much goes into it in order to generate that number, which is spiked around $4 million additional dollars. I will say that if you look at infrastructure needs right now, when we talk about fencing, creating single points of entry, having additional surveillance, right now the immediate need is around $12 million just to get us started in that wave. We did, and Doc will talk about our needs assessment in a little bit, but I can tell you that that's only going to be touching schools in reference to get them ready for the structural mobility to protect them. From the mental health side, we got $900,000, and all this is categorical money. You can only use it for the labels in which they're designed for. So mental health, that means we've got to figure out what we can do from a behavior standpoint. How do we leverage the resources that we have with clinical experts that come in and continue the work that we can to have to help our students. And then SEDNet continues to roll, and then community partnerships, we got some additional funding in order for us to grow those partnerships. And right now we have launched it in a soft launch at Wilkerson Junior High School. They will turnkey that for the 18-19 school year, and then we seek to grow that. To be openly, our aspirations is to put one in Keystone next, and then I'll talk about what that partnership looks like, and then transition to one in the north side of Orange Park, as well as the third phase within this organization. This is the slide of that I wanted to use. The next couple slides, it talks about our analytical data from discipline. We are relatively a really safe school district, and that's hats off to what teachers are doing every single day and our leaders are doing every single day with our students. This data indicates the average number of referrals per student on campus, and that we clearly can see a decrease in our referrals from year to date as it looks at a 3-year transition at every one of the schools in feedback. The only school that we see right now that we have an increase is SBJ, and that's just and we know the causations there, and we're going to continue to problem solve them to figure out that making sure that they are right in the number of referrals that are assigned, and that we are working to have a behavior interventionist potentially moving forward for next year to help them with that work. The Sheriff Daniels is coming, and they walk in the house, and thank you for being here. And also Mr. Undersheriff Mr. Walton as well as the Undersheriff as well. But this just shows that ultimately that this has all contributed to a greater engagement from our teachers, greater ownership from our students, greater accountability as well, and then also focus on really getting our opportunity to maximize the instructional frameworks to have bell-to-bell instruction, and really teaching kids how to interact with each other, how to interact with teachers, how to interact with their peers, along with their curriculum in order to move forward. Additionally, the next slide is, this is about our suspension rate. You can see the solid lines are in-school suspension, and these little lines that we try to figure out some other way. They're a little different, probably never been used again. But they signify our out-of-school suspensions. And once again, you can see the progression that we are decreasing the number of in-school suspension incidents along with the out-of-school suspension incidents within our schools, which is a great opportunity to keep our kids in schools and have better opportunities for restorative practice where kids can reflect on their consequences and have ownership of their decisions and work to make better decisions in moving forward. And I share this data to say that we are paying attention to our students, and we're trying to pay attention to making sure that we are putting them on the right track in order to interact with behavior every single day. The last one is arrest data, and I want you to know that this is a 5-year trend arrest data for every feeder pattern within this organization. I want you to know these are not solely arrests within our school district. They could be related to arrests of our students that happen outside in the community. And this is showing that there's a great focus for us on problem solving with our local law enforcement. But this tells us that we have to make certain that our students understand there's consequences out there, and that we've got to coach them in better decisions and to create accountability and ownership in every action that they take. Dr. Kim always talks about the assistant superintendent of operations for me. There's a consequence for every action. There's also an unintended consequence as well. So we just got to be mindful for what kids are involved in and continue to coach them in order to make certain that we pay attention to all of these analytics. So what are we doing now from Clay County's perspective? I'll present a number of these items. We've completed a number of things to harden our structures and to create safe environments. This is where we've had a point where we've updated all of our emergency and crisis management plans. We are continuously have a progress monitoring aspect where we're continuously looking at these plans in order to refine our work, in order to better our work. It's unfortunate that we've had to use Parkland to dust off some of these plans in order to take a deeper look at it. But we have a team that is rigorously ready to go to look at the plans to make sure that they are solid and that we are protecting our students and our employees every single day. We also have flip cards at every one of our schools where that gives them an immediate identification of what to do, how to do it, if faced with an incident such as Parkland, or during any type of event, whether it be a weather event, whether it be a fire drill, or whether it be a lockdown drill, that they have information ready to go, readily at hand. Also, we have a Raptor management software system that really looks at every individual that darkens the doorway of our schools. They have to swipe their ID, and it really gives us an immediate indication of whether or not whether it's a business partner, caregiver, volunteer, can actually be on campus and be involved with kids. That's a step that we have in every one of our schools. And then we've also sent a directive, within 2 hours of Parkland, I send a directive to every one of our employees in this organization, telling them to lock exterior gates, to lock exterior doors, and to keep every single one of our doors in our schools locked as well. The issue is that we're trying to make sure we continue to coach our students not to open doors for any adult unless they have one of these, a badge on, or if they're wearing the green. You know, young men and women are wearing the green to allow them access to our schools as well. But we want to make certain that we are protecting every single door, because we don't want kids to open the door because they're trying to be respectful and they're opening the door. It could be someone that we don't want on our campus. We had this happen last week. One of the students opened the door for a student that was a past student that was 20 years of age. That individual walks into the campus, causes a major disruption, and then here we are. We're in an undesired event, and we take immediate action and engage law enforcement to take action with us because we have trespassers. We've got to do a better job of not opening those doors and pushing those individuals to single points of entry. On top of that, we're leveraging mental health specialists within our school district, with counselors, with school psychologists, with partnerships with Pathway, with Right Way, with Clay Behavioral, to make certain that they are a partner in our work in order to gain access to our students to help them in any way, shape, or form. And then we're looking at different procedures. And the one thing, you can't see it for some reason, my slides aren't showing, the rest of them are showing up. We have to have our students continue to see something, hear something, say something. And I added the hear because if they hear something, they got to let us know. If they see something, they got to let us know. And we've been very fortunate in Clay County that our students feel that they have accessibility to our adults, and they've been telling us information, and we get a lot of our tips from our kids. And that's hats off to our parents, hats off to our teachers for creating that mentality within our school district. We want to keep that moving forward for years to come. So actions that are in progress. We've got to continue to increase security in progress. We're making certain that we increase security and surveillance within our school district. We're looking at increasing and refining the way that we do business related to fire drills, whether we're lockdown drills and weather drills. We are doing that right now. We're also making sure that we have greater visibility, accessibility, law enforcement. I can't tell you I can't speak highly enough of what the sheriff has done in our partnership. Anytime I call him or his staff or additional assistance or visibility, they make it happen 100% of the time. So we're thankful for that. Continue to work with that partnership. You should see increase of visibility because they're roaming our schools, they're roaming within the community, and being mindful of our surroundings. In addition, like I said, we're refining our work with our crisis management, and we have conducted a needs assessment, and in the progress of conducting additional needs assessments of our schools, determine what we actually do from a hardening standpoint, a structuring standpoint, to make sure that we have single points of entry as well every single day. And then future, what can we do moving forward? We've got to improve our fencing, our single points of entry. We've got to look at portable metal detectors. We've got to have switches in our classrooms. And my aspirations, and I know Dr. Kemp's all over it, because it costs a lot of money. I would like to have a scenario that provides an immediate indicator for either teachers to have in their classroom or wear in their classroom, where it goes directly linked to the fire department or directly linked to the Clay County Sheriff's Office, so that they don't have to have a third party, a middleman in there to say, hey, we need resources, or hey, we need a fire department. We want that to be an immediate indicator to signal, so that we can have individuals on our campus in a quick fashion. I know that costs a lot of money. It's a significant amount of money, but it's part of our work and part of our vision that we have going forward. Also, we'll be creating for 1819 a bullying crisis hotline for any of our students that can call if they have a crisis. And we'll have a crisis management team that can respond. Also, in a bullying, where we can take calls in an anonymous manner and continue to investigate those immediately through our staff, and to have a more opportunity for our students to call where they may not feel they have that avenue as of right now. And then we will establish for the first time, a behavior and mental health plan through the Office of Climate and Culture. We have our Assistant Superintendent, Mike McCauley, who leads that work. He continues to help us working to build a plan that will take immediate steps to gain additional access to more learners who would who exhibit behaviors or undesired behaviors related to attendance, academics, and also behavior. So we want to be able to triangulate that information in order to identify our students so that we can have a better indicator of supporting them and putting them on the right track. And then we will be developing a district threat assessment team to respond if faced with a situation such as Portland. I will tell you this is some information about what we've done in preparation for our crisis. We've had over 350 drills that have taken place from year to date for this school year. Those include intruder, lockdown, weather drills, severe weather drills, and fire drills as well. We have a turnkey training with our administrators 30 days ago, or 35 days ago, to update them on as a refresher. We asked them to turnkey that with our teachers and asked them to turnkey that with our students, and begin to start having additional random drills within the organization. And then also in the summer for 18-19, we will make sure that we have intense training for safety procedures with all of our admin for our new updates. And that's going to be in partnership with law enforcement, and also looking at mandatory training for every faculty and staff member there in pre-planning. And then working within the first 2 weeks to make sure that we have drills that are exposed to our students. Within the first 2 weeks, in the first 30 days, conducting those drills. And then we as a school district will put a team together and we will conduct random drills throughout the school year. They're on top of the 7 drills, the fire drills, on top of the 4 lockdown drills and 2 severe weather drills. And that team's going to go do it unannounced. You know, we'll try not to do it during lunchtime, but I'm telling you, we may have to do it during lunchtime because you never know when the scenario will happen. But we'll be able to give immediate feedback. We're not going to create a gotcha moment. It's more to go and circulate through the schools to see if our plan is actually effective and to see how it's being turnkey within our schools so that we can refine our work and then also continue to coach schools and give them bite-sized feedback to help them be successful in every one of these drills as they continue to push forward. For mental health is items that we have completed. We have completed making sure that we have school counselors in every one of our schools to help them from a mental health standpoint. We have a district crisis team that's ready to respond. We have social workers, psychologists, district level specialists that help with mental health and behavior expectations. We have nurses in every one of our schools, and that's something that around the nation doesn't usually occur. Usually you have one nurse for 4 or 5 schools and they round every single day. Here in Clay County, we take pride in that, and they've done a good job of placing nurses to help our students. And then we have great partnerships with Clay Behavior, Right Path, and Children's Home Society as well. So what do we talk about moving forward with mental health? We have placed motivational coaches in 3 out of our 6 junior high schools. These are coaches that have working with our students who are into a point where they may be struggling academically, struggling from an attendance standpoint, and also from a social standpoint and academic standpoint. So these are between 75 and 100 students that are being serviced in our junior high schools right now, 3 out of the 6, and we're growing to all 6 of our schools, hopefully by the start of 18-19. These are free of charge to our school district. They're here to help our kids. We know that in junior high school that our kids, they mentally drop out of school, but then when they get to high school, they physically drop out. So we're trying to break that mentality and keep our students on track with their graduation cohort and give them a sense of hope and a sense of mentoring in a time where, you know, junior high school students are trying to find out who they are. There's a lot of exploring going on, and we want to be able to help them be organized and transition in a successful manner. And then on top of that, we're looking at continuing our community partnership schools. This is where we have a junior Wilkinson High School, junior high school. We are going to next phase to look at Keystone. The 3rd phase will be in the north of Orange Park area. This is where nonprofit organizations have come to band together with businesses, faith-based partners, and they bring services to the entire school and to the entire community. This is where we address the needs of the medical needs, we address the hunger needs, we address mental health needs, we address the healthcare needs and the violence of those who have been exposed to violence. You know, there's so many of our students, don't have accessibility, especially in the Wilkinson area, the 218 corridor, to healthcare services and mental health services. So we are bringing that to their school and hopes to do it in Keystone here as well. We see so many of our students not able to attend school because they are sick and they are ill. And teachers as well. And this will provide accessibility immediately on our school grounds, where a family can bring their student to our schools. They can see a doctor, if that is the need of the community within our school, get that treatment they need to put that student back immediately into the classroom to help them be successful. So this is about us growing legs in our community and taking partners to bring together and us moving forward from a collective standpoint. Also, we're looking at early warning indicators for our teachers. We are going to bring on board, we had a soft launch this year with youth mental health first aid training. And this is training that has basically introduced the common mental health challenges to our youth. And these are individuals who are exposed to anxiety, who are exposed to depression, who are exposed to substance abuse or behavior disorders, that we can help them do that. This gives teachers a better awareness and educators as well. And then we're also seeking through Mr. McCauley's office to link with the Sheriff's Office as well and help them better understand and be a partner in this training so they can be a partner and mentor in our kids and creating awareness. And then maybe potentially looking at full service models, but that's going to take a lot. It's going to take some funding to do so. We're just going to have to seek to get it off the ground. So as it relates to what are our needs, I will tell you openly that we have to find additional funding revenues within Cook County. I say that openly. I'm not a guy that comes and says, "Hey, we need to raise taxes." But I can tell you, with only giving 47 cents per head for every one of our students and giving us $17,000, it's not sufficient number to create the best environment from a safety standpoint for our school district. For so many years, the school district has been deferred as it relates to infrastructure because of lack of funding from the state. And then it puts us at a situation where we have to figure out additional revenue streams. And by looking at making sure we have lighting in common areas, making sure that we have crisis management ready to go, to make sure we have unarmed security guards in our schools, to have more visibility, to signal who's on campus, who shouldn't be on campus, who's out of area, to control some of our environments, to look at adding resource officers to every one of our schools. I told you we're around $3 million short of what needs to happen. And then I'm just telling you openly, I'll be going to the board on Monday, presenting a number of scenarios for our school board to take action on. And while I said originally we weren't exposed we weren't excited about the Guardian program, if you don't have funding to put resource officers in every one of your schools, you got to do something differently. And however, I will openly say our stance has been from day one, and along with the sheriff, we want to have a sheriff, a deputy from the sheriff's office in every one of our schools. That's the aspiration. But we can't do that without additional revenue, additional funding streams. And then we want to be able to provide portable handhelds for our teachers to connect with rescue and also law enforcement. And then look at additional, not only having surveillance, but having somebody monitor their surveillance. I mean, it's nice to have surveillance cameras, but that's only reactive to situations because you're going to go back and you're going to watch the video. We need someone actively involved watching and monitoring as individuals are coming on campus that may not be part of our school system, but really see altercations that are taking place within our schools to have better vision for the work. And then look at new mechanisms, new structures for our doors, for external locks, and then making sure that every one of our employees, every one of our students in our schools, and every school has an ID to identify who they are for a safe environment. And then have single points of entry at every one of our schools. So my job as superintendent is to continually work to prepare, prevent, respond, and recover. My job is to make certain that we prepare to have the greatest plans for crisis and emergency management. And within the school district, my job is to make sure that I have preventative measures to engage our community, to have preventions and interventions to help our students from a behavioral and mental health standpoint, to coach them to do the right things. My job is to create the greatest environment that I can, a healthy environment. And then my job is to respond to immediate community, to law enforcement, and to staff, to be very transparent of where we are, and if we're faced with a unfortunate situation, to be able to respond in a proactive, swift manner. That's going to help us in the long run, and then also recover. And recovery is probably one of the most important parts. How do we review? How do we update? How do we rebuild our systems if ever exposed to a type of incident that the department was exposed to? So now it's your time. You should have had cards when you came in on the table to write any questions that you may have. We're asking that you write the questions, any questions you may have, and then I have staff. I have the Chief of Secondary Education, Terry Connor, who's here with me this evening, that will collect your cards. He will read every one of your cards that you have. He'll try to put those in buckets. So if you don't hear your exact question, he'll try to put them in buckets so we can keep them focused and narrow so we don't ask the same type of question twice. I also tonight have a great opportunity to have individuals for our panel who can help and answer questions as well. and I'll lean to the right to go down, let them introduce themselves as we start to collect these questions.
I'm Dr. Mike Kemp, Assistant Superintendent Operations, Clay County.
Bruce Harmon, Office of Safety and Security.
Michael McCauley, Assistant Superintendent for School Climate Culture. Bruce Goodell, Assistant Chief of Patrol, Clay County Sheriff's Office.
Stephen, Chief of Jails, Clay County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you for being here. Then we have Sheriff as well, and Mr. Walden as well. Let's hear what those can answer any questions. We also may be taking some questions from Facebook Live. This is also Facebook Live, so we want to respect their time as well. So if any questions are being posed, we will stop periodically to address those questions as well. Mr. Kine.
All right, well, we're good. So the question here is about active shooter training. You may miss that annually. What does Clay County do in regards to annual active shooter training?
So right now we are working to partner with the Clay County Sheriff's Office and also law enforcement agencies to be prepared to train our staff so we can turnkey that and train our teachers and our administrators as well. So I know that there's going to be periodic training that will take place for us to have better understanding of our procedures and our processes. And we have a team that's going to be actively engaged so that we can strengthen our emergency and crisis management plans in order for our teachers to be exposed to and leaders exposed to the right protocols and policies so that we can make sure we're working with our students to go through that process. So that's going to be an ongoing for us, training for us that we're exposed to so that we can tighten. But I can tell you from our standpoint, we really want to be a partner with law enforcement because ultimately that's their wheelhouse and we wanted to lean on them for the training. We will be able to train the trainer models. We have district specialists and coordinators and directors that lead the work from a safety standpoint. So we want to make certain that we get in front of law enforcement practitioners every single opportunity that we can.
Okay, do Clay County schools be participating in the Guardian program?
So right now the answer is no. The school board took a strong stance that the Guardian program will not be a factor in our direction. But I will tell you, after the conversation with going to the Board of County Commissioners and asking for some financial support, I can tell you that they're in a situation where they are not able to assist us with financial support. So that means that if we can't afford putting resource officers in every one of our schools, then the school board may have to think differently. So originally the answer is no, that we have not entertained this as an option. But going into Monday meetings with the school board, it may have to be a part of the discussion where it may have to be entertained due to funding in our schools. By day one, we have to have in every one of our schools an individual that is either with law enforcement or trained through law enforcement through the Guardian program in every one of our schools to protect our schools. We have to have it by day one. We hope to have great direction from Monday from the school board, and then that will then lead to the direction to the sheriff's office, who stands ready to hire. He's ready to hire. He's ready to hire now. And he keeps taking a little bit of my money, but yesterday he tried to call the exact money. I gave him a ballpark, but it's all right. He's a good man. He means well. But we'll see how that goes on Monday. If this conversation happened on Monday evening, I'd have a solid answer. But right now, we're not entertaining. It's a no, but it will be on the table Monday for our discussions.
Speaking of students who have been disciplined for making threats,
Yep.
How is it decided? What is the process that's conducted for them to re-enter school?
So at that point, our code of conduct defines our steps and our progression as it relates to discipline. When threats are made, our job is to investigate it immediately. Our job is to work and determine the credibility of it. We take every threat seriously, whether it's credible or not initially. We will treat it as if it is credible. We will immediately start the investigation process to administration and also with law enforcement. Law enforcement has been side by side, and law enforcement works quickly to determine whether or not threat assessment is needed at the home, which we will go and we go to the homes, and the resource officers do a fantastic job of gaining access and try to determine whether or not the threat is credible. From our side, after the investigation process, we determine whether or not one is going to be pushed and recommended for expulsion, and then that recommendation that's from me goes to the board has that determination. And from that recommendation, my job is to recommend My job is to recommend, I have the option of recommending expulsion with services, without services for an extended period of time. And whether or not that recommendation is approved by the board determines the length of the consequence for that learner. Mr. McCall, anything else?
You got it.
I like to hear that. He said, you got it.
Protocol in the case of an actual shooting. So what happens at school?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't speak to any of the protocols and policies related to our emergency management or our crisis management plans. We want to protect those plans. For us, we won't speak to it at any point. We want to be able to protect the working conditions of our adults and also of our students. So at that time, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we cannot and will not ever disclose the safety measures that we take internally with our students and our leadership. Anything for that? Okay. No, you might.
That's all the questions. We do have Ms. Gary up in front that has a suggestion that she'd like to make.
Sure. I got one more question. Any questions from Facebook Live? Shoot, we got a thumbs up. We only got one thumbs up.
So the question is, and I think this is kind of a philosophical question, but why do you think all of these threats and shootings are happening?
You know, I wish I knew the causation of the illnesses. I really do. I think that it starts at a young age. I think that openly, I think it's linked to the way that we have expectations at home, the way that students are treated at school, whether it's through bullying. I think it's the way that students are exposed to high, severe options of poverty. I think there's a lot of causations that we can go through it. I think we have to do a better job from birth through elementary school, around third grade, creating the way that, informing the way that kids think, the kids they interact, the way that they have respect. I think that once students transition to junior high school and high school, to be openly and honestly, we have resources to help them. But it's really starting at a younger age to address the way that kids interact and the way they carry themselves and interact with others. We have got to get to a point where we are doing a better job in the school district, opening up our schools where we have availability to 3-year-old or 4-year-old programs to get our students in the school system at an earlier age in front of certified teachers and professionals every single day. And I think we can help with that cycle, but there's a lot of causations, and I wish it wasn't that way, and I wish we would never have experience such as Parkland or Columbine and all these other issues, but we do, and we've got to be very careful the way that we treat kids, the way that we treat adults, the way that we interact with each other, and we've got to do a better job training educators and parents of identifying awareness indicators so that we can really link the right resources to these individuals to give them a sense of hope and a sense of help. Professor?
You got it, sir.
And so glad I brought them tonight. Just kidding.
We have a question on Facebook. Right?
Got a question on Facebook. This is for the sheriff, right?
Is there protocol?
He's ready.
Is there protocol for bullying?
Do you want to address protocol for bullying? I mean, we do have policies for bullying.
And speak loud.
You don't want to take this.
I'm going to let my team interact tonight.
What is the protocol for bullying? On how to be a bully or addressing bullying? Clearly that was tongue in cheek, because bullying is a serious issue for our kids, particularly in the 21st century, and the ease in which it is to engage in that kind of behavior, as the superintendent said earlier, behind the safety of a phone, an account that's not identifiable, etc. So the school district kind of takes its lead in how we define bullying by the state legislature. So there are some definitions that we follow. They don't always align perfectly with sort of our general feeling about what bullying is. When kids are picking on each other, or there's this harassment level of interaction. Is it bullying? Is it not bullying? Is it harassment? Is it just general teenagers being teenagers, etc.? So we do have some procedures in place that are actually currently being updated for rollout next year, allowing schools, giving schools some tools on how to be very mindful as they look into whether or not this is in fact bullying or just general bad behavior that we can still deal with, but it wouldn't necessarily fall under the definition of bullying. So we do have those procedures in place. The protocol is there and available for schools to utilize. When we talk about bullying, it's important first of all recognize from our end, as we evaluate for something like that type of behavior or that pattern of behavior, we're looking for things such as an imbalance of power between the two kids or groups of kids that are being accused of that kind of behavior. So you're looking at a 9th grader that feels threatened by a group of seniors, or a student with disabilities that doesn't have the capacity to sort of fight back, being threatened by a group of kids that don't have a disability. So we need to see some sort of difference there between the groups. We're also looking at the level of threat, and whether it's perceived or real, it doesn't matter. We feel a certain way, that's all we need to figure out. And then just the opportunity for harm. Again, whenever we do an evaluation for bullying, we follow our protocols. Whether we substantiate it or not is irrelevant to how we might deal with the students that feel threatened. Because that is where we need to focus our attention and make sure that they are in a position to feel safe so that their learning is maximized in the environment.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions that we have?
I have a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Susan Berry. I'm from Atlantic Beach. I don't have any kids. I'm a former sergeant out of Oakland, California with Alameda County Sheriff's Department. And I got interested in school safety, well, of course, with all the school shootings. But I went to a program last year called CRACE. It's put on by law enforcement, Citizens Response in an Active Shooting Event. And what it is there's an acronym, AD, A-D-D. AD, start with a boy, that means you run. D is deny, barricade yourself in a room. And D is for defense, that's the third one. And that means you're going to take the suspect on. And I thought, gosh, what could you do? I mean, who's going to run up there? Somebody's got to. But I came to the thought that, those LED lights, flashlights you've seen, I thought, what about military-grade LED lights in the schools? And I contacted the guy just out of the blue. His company is Durabright. His name is Mike Moore, and we were on the same page. He is developing a system to put these massive, 200,000 lumens on the ceiling that will distract and eventually disable the suspect. These lights are huge. They can be connected, and once they just shower you with this. Anybody remember the disco lights? They will actually disorient and distract the suspect. And there you can restrain him and get that weapon away from him. Now that's going to take some other training. I'm not here to solve all the problems. I'm here to help with when you have an active shooter in your school. What can you do to get rid of it and disable it? So that was my suggestion. Now I should say it's never been tried in any schools. It's a brand new system. This guy works with the military, and I'll show you how bright it is. That's like that. And it's raining down in you with different colors.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few more questions from Facebook.
All right, so the next two-part question. So how can individuals, such as community members, help at the school level, just as far as with all these issues that we discussed? How can individuals help? And then, on top of that, how can business partners, community organizations help?
Yeah, I think it's, I talked about earlier, help me at the dinner table, and help me within your community, help me in your neighborhood. And the more that we can continue to coach and be interactive with our students to figure out what's going on in their lives, how can we help them remove barriers and help them create pathways to success, that's the biggest thing we ask you to do. I mean, we know that when we have students, and I have a child, I know I have a 17-year-old that interacts one way at my home. I'm sure it's not the same 17-year-old that interacts in the school. So, there's a differentiation there, but we hope that that kid is as close as, mirrors the mentality as close as we can at home as they do at school, for them to make the right decisions, to continue to coach them as well. We talk about, and also how can you help me? You can help me by really standing strong with me as we, in the next week, determine whether or not this school district will seek additional funding for hardening our structure in our school and to putting resource officers within our school district as well, whether that be through a millage rate or be through a millage rate. I say that you know, to a point where it's a necessity. I would never come to this community and think that and ask them to put additional funding into the district, but you have to understand the school district is the foundation of everything that we do in Clay County. Whether you have a child here or not, it impacts your property value, it impacts your culture, it impacts the mindset. If you don't believe it, look at St. John's. They're not the #1 school district in the state for any particular reason. I mean, they care. They care about what's going on. They put time and energy in it, and they continue to be lifelong coaches to their children and to the community. Business partners proactively reach out to us to find us. It's not all about money from your side. We want you to be a volunteer within our school district. We want to find you how you can be a part of our advisory programs, especially in our high school and transition to junior high school and elementary as well, as we look at creating themes and choice in every one of our schools. We want you to be a part of that pathway and for you to problem solve on our SAC committees and be a partner in our thinking about how we can do business in a better manner. So be a think partner for us as well. Facebook question?
Yeah, any facility changes? Can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, facilities you want to talk about?
You have to give them your Facebook Live.
I got one.
I think you have to actually give them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard for them to hear.
So the question is, are there any specific facility changes as a result of for safety and security? Yes, we're looking at constantly. We're looking at significant costs for upgrades, and as the superintendent mentioned, camera surveillance, controlled access, controlled entry and access, as well as security systems. We're looking at perimeter fencing and, of course, school hardening. Our team, Director of Safety and our maintenance and code enforcement, we've all gone out. We've conducted needs assessments on every school in Clay County. And I can tell you the need that we have right now, just from a facility perspective, is about $282 million in need that for our facilities. Now, people go, wow, you know, think about that over time. Out of that $282 million, a lot of that is the security projects that we need to conduct to bring our facilities relevant and to do what we need to do for kids. So if you think about that $282 million for a second, just out of that need that we've identified, their immediate needs, let's take the Orange Park High School feeder pattern specifically, just the schools that feed Mr. Anderson's awesome Raiders.
Sports up.
Way to go. Orange Park High School facility needs, I mean, not just the high school, the Orange Park feeder pattern, all the schools that serve Orange Park, is right at $52.6 million that we've identified right now that we need to do to bring these facilities current and relevant. When you think about the average facility age of these facilities is 53 years old, and the lack of funding that we've experienced over the years and the continual state cuts in funding to where facilities and capital program funding was just cut to nothing, it has forced us to where we have to look at additional revenue. When you think about the 448 academic core classrooms that feed from all the feeder schools up to Orange Park High School, we have a lot of work to do. And we absolutely, as the superintendent said, we absolutely have to have another revenue stream to get that done. So you think about $282 million of need as we speak right now. Had a chance to speak with the Board of County Commissioners last night when the sheriff and the superintendent were speaking. And I can tell you that all districts are facing the same challenge as trying to figure out how to deal with state, well, I couldn't call it unfunded mandates, Sheriff, because they gave me a little bit. We got a little bit of money. But most of it's an unfunded mandate. Our goal is to find how can we make safety and security the priority. Also, how can, out of this $282 million, the majority of that project is safety, security, school hardening, camera surveillance, and all that. It's very important that we do that. I left him with a comment last night, you know, authority without capacity is futility. We have to find a way to do what we need to do to bring our schools current. And I'll give you another one, Sheriff. You can use this one. Vision without implementation is hallucination. So, you know, we can have the best visions and the best plans, but without the ability to knock it out. And that's what I saw last night. We really need to make sure that we get this solved, and as a community we will.
Thanks, sir. Yeah. Facebook?
Yeah, actually a question from a student's perspective. How can my classmates and I stay informed, involved, and share input on these issues? I think she needs
Yeah, so be actively engaged in student leadership and student government in your schools. Work to push your teachers and your administrators to create forums for discussion and try to figure out proactive steps in order to get in front of unifying your efforts as it relates to create ownership within your school. So just really be actively engaged. There's a number of leadership opportunities in every one of our schools, and we want you to be a part of that process every single day that we can. Me and Sheriff Daniels has a vision of creating a council of students within the school district, and for students within our organization. And I'm going to look at building a superintendent's cabinet as well. So those may be, or we may do something combined that I piggyback with him. Yeah, I think he let me. But we'll be able to gain access to more opportunities about how we not only problem solve at your local school, but how we do it as an aggregate from a school district perspective as well. So I'll leave this to my panel. Anything that you would like to speak to? Anything? Sheriff, you want to come up and say anything? You sure? Anybody want to hear Sheriff? He does a good job.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay, I want to start.
You should have ended when you did.
Yeah.
One more thing, I forgot.
You got another quote, I guess.
One of the issues that we deal with from a security perspective is we have 980, it's one now, right? 981, we had one that we crunched up. 981 portables, the relocatable space. And that presents a concern for us at times because regardless of people's philosophy on brick and mortar permanent capital space versus relocatable portables, you can't secure them. They're very difficult to secure. So part of the plan that we have in place that you'll be hearing about soon is that we have got to have permanent, more secured permanent space, and that's part of the portable reduction plan for the 981 portables that we have, third most in the state.
That's correct. We've got to get to a point where we have fixed or standalone classrooms to get out of the worlds of portables and have vision for the work when we talk about growth. So additionally, last thing I'd say, the question was how can we be involved in business partners and parents? Why don't you we will open you to be a volunteer in our school district, to be a life coach to one of our kids. There's so many kids that need that role model, that need just someone to talk to, and going through their proper clearance with volunteerism, and you get cleared, ready to go. We ask you to come be a mentor to our students and at every grade band and be a partner in a life coach as well. I know so many students that were involved in that take stock in Children Initiative, and we can grow that internally with volunteers who want to be on the ground working with our kids every day in order to save their lives and help them be successful and have fulfill their aspirations and dreams. Again, I thank you for being here. We will do this collectively. We have to do this collectively. Once again, thank you for allowing me to lead the school district, and we look forward to elevating Clay continuously every single day. Thank you, and have a good night.